Well, I told you were the first one. Oh, we are live.
You're live.
Um, and we're live. Yes. So, hello everyone. It's Joe Kimmock. I am really incredibly honored and privileged to introduce you to Darleny today. And this is the very first video in a series that we're going to be doing for the next several weeks called The Stories That Free Us. And these are stories, interviews with real people who have been impacted by the criminal legal system in some way. We know that the absolute best way to change hearts and minds and to change the world is to tell folk stories. And so, during this campaign for over the last year, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and tell me their story. And it has been those stories that have really kept me going, that have inspired me every day, that have made me want to wake up and continue in this work. And as we are getting closer to the election date, which is August 18th, 2020, I just felt it was really important to bring you as many of those stories as we possibly can. And so today, we, as our very first one, we have Darleny. Darleny is a mom, a young mom here in Broward County. She works at a, remind me, you work at a, you sell timeshare, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She sells timeshares. She has a 6-year-old daughter, if I'm not correct. She's 6?
Yes, correct.
And she has very graciously kind of agreed to share her story of going through the criminal legal system. When Darleny first had her daughter, she well, first of all, Darleny will tell you, she grew up kind of with a lot of privilege. She had 2 parents who loved her. She had a home that was safe. She went to good schools. And so she really had kind of everything that one would need as a kid, as growing up. When she became a young adult and she had her daughter, her relationship with her mom started to fray a little bit. Her mom suffers from bipolar disorder, and her mom ended up calling DCF on Darleny, and to try to get her daughter taken from her. When that happened, it hit Darlene really hard, and she started using drugs. And her parents obviously became very concerned about her. And like most parents do, or like many parents would, their response to that was to use tough love on Darlene. And they told her that she couldn't live at their house anymore, at their home anymore, while she was still using. And this made Darlene homeless for a time being. She would sleep she would sleep at a friend's house here and there, but it just kind of made things significantly worse for her. One day, when she was again homeless, and she's going to tell you the story better than I will, but she went back to her dad's house while her parents were not home, in order to get some food, and she was hungry. Her dad sees her on the surveillance video from the house, and in order to try to give her some sort of wake-up call, calls police on her. Police come, they arrest her, they charge her with burglary, which is a second-degree felony, and then that pushed her into the criminal legal system. While her case is pending for months and months in the criminal legal system, Darlene gets clean. She gets a job, she gets a place to live, She gets her daughter back. She does everything that she is supposed to do. Um, Her dad tells the state attorney's office, I don't want to press charges anymore. I want to drop the charges. I don't want my daughter, facing a charge of burglarizing her own parents' home. The state attorney's office refused to drop the charges. When her lawyer went to the state attorney's office and asked, well, just put her into a diversion program so she doesn't have this charge hanging over her head, the state attorney's office refused to drop the charge. And when the state refused to drop that felony charge, and Darleny's lawyer told her that, she could go to jail if the state forced her dad to come in and testify against her, Darleny ended up taking a plea. And she was placed on probation. She has successfully completed that probation, but now she does have this felony that is kind of hang over her head for the rest of her life, one way or another, right? And so it is really, I'm really, really privileged and honored to speak with you about this, Darlene. I want to thank you so much for being here. For folks that are watching, if you can share this video, we know again that the more that we can share these stories and get them out, the more impact we're going to have. So Darlene, tell us first kind of what life was like for you growing up.
Okay, so we lived in a big home. It was a nice house. I got here when I was 6 years old, and my dad's a super great dad. He made sure that we wake up every day, brush our teeth, go to school, teach us everything we needed to be taught. He was awesome. And just a great dad, great mom too. My mom was there too. My mom, had the bipolar disorder her entire life. So it was like, mom will cook and clean and all that stuff, but my dad will make sure everything was, straight, everything was running good. It was a good life overall. It was, besides my mom and, a lot of things like that here and there, everything was great. We go to church, went to school, we were private school at home. We had everything. No problem at all.
What did your dad do for a living?
My dad writes books for a living, and he's actually he doesn't like really talking about what he does, but he writes books for a living, and he's an instructor at FAU. He writes accounting books.
Okay. And so, you talked about that there were some issues with your mom. Tell me about those.
So my mom, she's had a bipolar disorder her entire life. There will be episodes like from time to time. She'll have those episodes like for like a good 8 months, she'll be good. And then 1 month I'll be outrageous. She'll just do things and say things and stuff that as kids, we didn't understand her much when we were younger because we didn't understand what was her condition. So we were kind of scared and didn't know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But then as we got older, our dad used to explain to us, your mom goes through this, you guys have to help her, you guys have to, just make sure, everything's fine, just don't worry, she's good. You guys just kind of roll with it, you know what I'm saying? So that's what we did. We'll make sure that take her medication, make sure that she's not working too hard, like stress herself out, because she stress her own self out, like she want to work outside in the garden and stuff like that. So we'll make sure that she doesn't stress herself out too much, or us not stress her out too much. So
and so what happened as far as there came a time in which you obviously had a daughter, and what was it like for you when your mom calls DCF on you?
Okay, so the thing is that growing up, my dad, he said, if you guys have kids, you guys will be on your own. So I'm not going to take care of you and your kids. So if you guys have kids, you guys will have to go on your own. If you guys don't have any kids right now, you guys can stay home and study. And I hope you guys, go through school and all that stuff. But if you have kids, you will have to be on your own. So that's what I did. I went on my own. Like I said, I moved in with some family members. They wanted to rent the house out or something like that. So that's when I became homeless. And then my daughter, I left it with my mom at home, because I know she was okay over there. And then my mom, all of a sudden, she started with her episode, and then she just called the cops on me.
Okay.
And that's when DCF got involved. And because of that, that's why I just went crazy.
And so tell me about that. Like, what were you going through in the weeks and months leading up to your arrest?
Okay, so first of all, I was not good. I mean, I was obviously devastated because our entire life because of her mental disorder, we did used to have a lot of people from DCF come to the house saying, "Hey, you guys are okay," even though it's a nice house and all this stuff. But DCF will still be involved. They will still kind of wonder, "Are you guys okay with your mom that's mentally, like that?"
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard, kind of fighting off all those people growing up with my mom and stuff like that, to have my own mom call them on me for my daughter. So that was devastating for me. That was very devastating for me. That she did that. So I was confused. I was hurt. I was my mom, and my daughter was taken away from me. And I didn't know anything of how getting her back. I mean, like I said, we were in a private homeschool, so I didn't know much of the social life of how things work.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought she was gone forever. Like, that was it. I didn't know anything of how to get her back. I didn't know that there was help out there to get her back. I didn't know any of that. I just was lost. So it was really hard. I was lost.
And you ended up getting involved with drugs?
Drugs, yeah.
On the day that you were arrested, tell me what happened.
Well, I mean, I was still out there. When I got arrested. So I kind of thank God that I was arrested at that time, because, it was not the best place. So I was kind of thanking God for that, because then that's when I saw that my dad did something good for me. That's when I thought to myself, well, my dad is not such a bad guy after all. Maybe he did wanted to help me out when I did got arrested at that time. And then when I did get out, I did start getting help on my own with DCF. That's when I started for them.
Well, tell me about actually going to the house, and do you remember any of that?
Yeah, actually, I do remember going to the house. Actually, my mom did send me to go to the house and get some food out the house. She said, there's a lot of food in the freezer. Why don't you just go get some food out? I was like, okay, yeah, why not? That's fine. I mean, great. So that's what I did. I went to my house. Like, my mom will send me every day to my house to go get something out the house. So that's what I did.
And so there was a disconnect here, right? Like, your dad had told you can't be at the house,
exactly.
And your mom is telling you just go get some food from the house.
Yes, exactly.
And when you actually show up to the house, your dad calls the police.
And get me in trouble. Exactly. That was it. And he got me in trouble to try to help me, because at that point already my daughter was taken from me. He saw how distraught I was, so he kind of did that for a reason. He kind of did it, I will say, for a reason.
Do you think that he ever intended for you to go to prison?
No.
Do you think he ever intended for you to have a felony conviction?
No, he didn't. He wanted to get some type of help.
Did you go to jail that day?
I did.
How long did you spend in jail?
Since October 9th till December 5th, I think it was.
Okay, so you were there for almost 2 months.
Yeah.
Why were you there for so long?
Well, my sister and they were trying to get the bond money together and all that stuff, and
how much was your bond?
It was like $200. It was so crazy, but it was only a little bit of.
Well, so it was.
And my sister did want to kind of keep me in there too, because they were like, oh, well, she needs some help. Might as well just keep her in there. Everyone was trying to help me out, because they saw how distraught I was. They saw how much I love my daughter. They saw, I was on my own when I moved out of my parents' house, when my dad said you can't have kids here. I moved on my own for 3 years. So I had my child, and I was great for 3 years. So it's kind of devastating, because I was on my own. I was doing everything, and then my daughter was just automatically taken, so that was very disrupting for me. So they knew that I was going through a lot.
And while you were sitting in jail, what was that like for you?
It was very horrible. I didn't like it at all. I didn't like anybody, and I didn't like anybody at all in there. I didn't. The cops were, some of them were nice, some of them were kind of just treat you like they will treat anybody else. I mean, and I just tried. Sometimes I think I got sanctioned one time to being alone somewhere because I'd said good morning to one of the cops or something like that, and they didn't want me to talk at a time I wasn't supposed to be talking. It was just I don't know.
Which
I don't
facility?
know.
Which facility were you at?
I
Was it Paul Ryan?
Paul Ryan, yes, Paul Ryan.
And do you feel like your time there in jail, did it have any impact on you kind of moving forward?
I mean, it didn't. It really did. It just got me more angry. It got me a lot more angry because, okay, so now my daughter's taken from me. Okay, now I'm in jail for a felony or something that I really didn't do. So I was very upset at everybody and everybody. I was upset at my parents. Like I said, I was upset at my mom. I was upset at everybody. I was just very upset. I was upset in there and I was very angry because I was, why am I in jail for something I didn't do? And why is my daughter taking from me? I mean, I was just very upset. Very, very upset.
Mm-hmm.
I was very.
And eventually you get out of jail. What happens after you get out of jail?
Well, eventually I got out of jail, and that's when I decided to get help on my own. I decided to go meet with my caseworker for DCF. I went to them. I saw pictures of my daughter. And I was like, you know what? I need to get my daughter back. This is not for me. I need my child. And that's exactly what I did. From there on, I went to rehab for 2 months. I did the whole 9 yards, all the rehab that you can get. I did like a year and a half, almost 2 years of rehab. And eventually started working from there. And then I got my daughter back and still fighting back and forth both cases.
So most people don't understand what you mean by that. When you say both cases, what are you talking about?
So, okay, so I was going to court for my daughter for DCF, and I was going to court for the criminal record for my dad. So I would be set to go to court on a month to go to child family court, and then I was going to court for this.
How often were you going to court during this time?
Well, I was probably going once or twice a month.
And how long would the court hearings last? How long would you be in the courthouse?
Probably like, I will say an hour and a half, an hour. I will go in there. I mean, it was not that long. Once you have your court day, you go in there and you sit and they'll tell you. Sometimes it'll be really fast. They'll just say, oh, I'm sorry, we'll see you next time, or this is not the time, or something like that. Sometimes, would take longer. Like DCF case would take a lot longer. But this one was a lot of, okay, come back, or we'll see you next time, or it was a lot of that.
Case, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how many times do you feel like you went to court and anything actually got done on your criminal case?
Well, I thought I was scared because I thought I was really going to go to jail for that. I really thought I was going to go to prison for this. I was really scared. I didn't want to go to prison. I was doing everything that the lady was saying. I was saying everything the lawyer was saying. No, we just wait for, let's go ahead and do this, or let's go ahead and do that. I was just trying to make sure that I was not going to go to jail for this or go to prison for this. I was trying to make, because I'm already trying to get my daughter back on one hand. I don't want her to be removed from me already. You know what I mean? So I'm trying as hard to fix this situation so I can get my daughter back. So it's really hard. So I was just doing everything they said. Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do that. I'll do that. Whatever you guys want me to do, I'll do that. I'll take whatever.
And how long was your criminal case actually pending in the system? So from the day you got arrested to the day your case resolved, how much time had elapsed?
I think it was about 3 years because the case started in 2016. I got arrested, I think it was in July 2016, and I got arrested in October. Then I got out in December. So from 2016 until now, 2018, I think that's when I started the 1 year probation when everything settled. or
Okay,
3 years.
so from the time that you were arrested to the time you got probation was about 2 years, and then you got a year probation after that.
Yes.
And folks that are hearing that are probably thinking 2 years for this case pending in the system. How could that possibly be? And as a criminal defense lawyer, I can tell you that that is very, very common, unfortunately. Things move very, very slowly. They crawl through the system, and then we bring folks back every month. And those are days that, when you were in court, you weren't working, you weren't in school, you weren't in rehab, so it was, those were hours and hours and hours taken out of your life that you weren't improving yourself in any kind of particular way. Tell me about the decision to plead the case, to actually plead guilty. I mean, you're charged with burglary. Maximum penalty for burglary is 15 years in prison, obviously. But your mom told you that you could go there, so you've got a defense to this, right? Your mom says you can go there.
Yep.
Your dad had kicked you out. Why not just take that to a trial? Why did you end up deciding to plead guilty?
Well, again, I was scared. I was very scared about my daughter getting away. My mom can't get her back for me because she was the one who called DCF. She's the one with the mental issue. We had history of my mom disorder with DCF. Even though they never got involved or anything, I still have history with my mom. So I was really scared that, okay, why should I go fight something that I'm not even sure that I'm going to win? Why go do something that I'm not even 100% sure it's going to go my way? Why should I go and risk my life or risk my daughter by trying to do something that I don't even know the outcome? I don't even know if it's, they're already trying to say that I burglarized my parents, I did all this. Why should I fight it? Why shouldn't I just take whatever they say and just do whatever they want me to do? And that's it. I didn't want my daughter to be away. I was fighting. I was more concerned with my daughter's situation than you understand what I mean? I was more concerned of keeping myself good so I can keep my daughter.
Yeah. And that's very, very common. I mean, you had all of these other stresses in your life. And your criminal case was not the most important thing to you, right? I mean, getting your daughter was.
Yeah.
And that's very, very common. I think for many, many of my clients in similar situations, their criminal case is the second, third, sometimes fourth most important thing going on in their life at that moment, right? Like there are some folks that are worried about how to put food on their table that night, or worried about where their kids are, or worried about keeping the job that they have because their car broke down. And so when all of those stresses are on you, and then you're offered, okay, you can just end this case now, do your probation and be done with it. It's a very, even for folks that, are in situations like yours, it's a very, very common, in fact, most likely thing that folks end up doing. So now you end up, well, let me ask this question. Was there ever any talk that you're aware of trying to get the state to dismiss the case, anything like that?
That's the only thing I always used to tell them. How come we can't dismiss this? How come we're going to try? Why are we doing all of this? My dad came to the office a couple of times, to my lawyer office, trying to talk to them, trying to dismiss it. And I was like, well, my dad's saying he doesn't want to do it. I actually brought my mom into the office, the lawyer office, trying to tell them what happened and what was her side of the story and all that stuff. And she's like, oh, I don't want my daughter to go to jail. Like I tried to bring my parents in. I tried all of that stuff. That's why I was like, well, when you say, why don't you just take the case and just, go to trial? I already tried to bring my parents in. I did that. I brought them both. I brought my mom, I brought my dad. I brought them both. So when I kept talking to them, how come we don't dismiss this? How come we don't just, why they're doing this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I can tell you that from an insider perspective, getting a burglary of a dwelling charge dismissed when there was probable cause to arrest the person in the first place is almost impossible. It's not eligible for diversion, and that's one of the biggest problems with the Broward State Attorney's Office is they have all of these um, classes of crimes that are excluded from diversion, where they won't allow folks to go to diversion. Even if they thought that you did this, right, which obviously they did, they thought that you broke into your own parents' home. It's unconscionable to hang a felony on you, and they should have afforded you diversion. Now, obviously, you also had these huge evidence of innocence, right? That your mom had actually told you that you could go into the home.
Yes.
And from a legal standpoint, that's a defense to burglary. That's if one person who lives there tells you you can go in, that is a defense to burglary. And so the fact that they not only refused to dismiss the case, but refused to give you any kind of diversion that would have allowed you to avoid a felony is unfortunately not uncommon, and happens to a lot of people. But so you take the case, you get your probation, you've done your year of probation now, is that right?
Yes.
And how's life now?
Well, I'm trying to rent a place. Actually, I actually fixed everything with my mom, and I already know that she's always been the same way she's been. And my dad is actually selling the house now, so she really can't go to the house. So I'm trying to rent a bigger place for us to go to, and I really can't. I can't rent a place for my mom right now. I can't,
Why?
Huh?
Why not?
Well, because I can't, because I can't because of the record. I can't go rent a place because of my criminal record. I have a felony and everyone's denying it. I tried to go to River Oaks. I went to River Oaks to try to do an application. Right away, they denied it. So.
Okay. And so they actually ask you right on the application even to rent an apartment.
I didn't put anything on the application. I just let it, maybe let's see if they'll find out or something, just to kind of see. But as soon as the thing went through, they were like, oh, sorry, you got flagged for something. Do you have a criminal record? Do you have something going on? Do you have a leasing problem? Like, no, it's just a record that I'm trying to get it removed.
Yeah. You're working?
I am working, yeah.
And you have your daughter back?
I do.
Is that right? And how long have you been clean now?
I've been clean for 3 years.
Okay, well, that's great. And you actually have we're doing this earlier in the morning because you have some sort of parent-teacher conference with your daughter here in a couple minutes. Is that right?
Yes.
And how is everyone faring, being locked up in, or quarantine, coronavirus style?
No, but we get to spend more time together. I get to see her every day more often. I get to know her a little bit more because she's always at school and then daycare and then we come home. So it's a lot more closeness, I feel. Got a little more closer, I guess. Like all of us, the whole family. Everyone's like spending more time together, watching more movies together, just doing a lot more stuff together.
Well, I want to thank you for having this conversation with me. I think again, it's really, really important that folks hear your story and hear the stories of other people that have been through this. Again, if you watch this, please share it. share it on your page, so that folks can hear this story. It's an important one to be told. We will do this again tomorrow. Actually, every day this week we have another individual who's been through the system, and so we'll have a post up about that later on today. But Darleny, thank you. It was really my honor and privilege to talk with you this morning. Good luck with your parent-teacher conference.
Thank you. You have a good day. Thank you for having me here.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. You too.